Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rhonda. I hope that everybody is having a super fantastic afternoon. I'm doing well, could be better. Trying to get over a cold that's been in my house for almost 2 weeks now. My children have been really under the weather. My husband and I both have been under the weather with this cold virus that's been going around. And it is, I have to tell you, one of the worst cold viruses I've ever had. This thing is icky, okay? It makes your body hurt. It makes you congested and sinuses draining, sore throat, achy body, the whole nine. So if you, whatever you have ever experienced with the cold, this virus is doing it to me and my family. As you can hear, my voice is still raspy because I'm still not 100% better, but I felt that I wanted to go ahead on and make this video. So I'm drinking some honey lemon tea, and hopefully my voice will hold up for me to get through this video and I won't start sounding like an old raspy man. Shout out to Agnes Scott College. That's the college that my daughter attends, where she will be graduating this year. Let's get into answering some questions about crochet. One of the questions that I get is, do I have to have a mannequin in order to crochet for myself? And my answer in short is no, you do not have to have a mannequin. As long as you are trying on your pieces as you go, then you will be fine. A mannequin is helpful because you don't necessarily have to put it on and off your own personal body, but it is not necessary that you have a mannequin. The other thing is that the mannequin may or may not be your size. Even if you have a plus size mannequin, the measurements may be a bit off, especially if you're like me, where I'm one size on top and another size on bottom. So on my top, I'm a 1X, 2X, the top part of my body. My lower part of my body, I'm a 3X because I have large hips, okay? So like my mannequin here, it is a plus size mannequin. The measurements for the chest, the top part, the chest area are fine, but the waist and the hips are different because it doesn't go up to my hip size or my waist size for this particular mannequin. You can purchase the next step up mannequin for larger sizes. This is the one in between. You have the one for smaller sizes, then you have the plus size, and then you have the super plus size. So this is the plus size mannequin. But another tip that I would give you, if you want a mannequin, there are several videos on YouTube that you can use to create a body mold of yourself and use that as your mannequin. And I think that is super fantastic and super cool, because when you're actually trying the pieces on that you're making, if they're for yourself, you're going to get to see exactly how they're going to fit, because that cast is you. It's a mold of your own personal body, which I think is very cool. I would warn you, though, that you're not going to be able to create that mold of yourself by yourself. You're going to need someone to help you. And when you make it, make sure that you have on undergarments that you would normally wear to go out. Okay? Don't make the mannequin or a mold of yourself if you don't have on a bra that you would normally wear, where your chest is where you want it to be. Because what will happen is you will create that mannequin, and then it's not, the pieces that you're going to use are not going to fit right because your foundation was not right. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have on whatever foundation you would wear on a regular basis for your pieces when you get dressed up to go somewhere. So whatever your foundation pieces are under the clothing that you wear when you get ready to create the mold of yourself, is that what you have on, excuse me, that day. Sorry guys, you can hear my voice is going in and out, and hopefully I'll be able to get through the video. Okay, the next thing I get asked is, how do I go about creating a skirt in crochet for myself? So there are a couple of tips that I can give you on designing or creating a skirt for yourself out of crochet. The first thing that you want to do is decide on the stitch pattern that you're going to use for your skirt. And you can do that by looking up stitch patterns online. You may have some crochet books like this one. This is the Crochet Stitches Visual Encyclopedia, and it gives you pictures of the stitches as well as the pattern written in words and in symbol, which is really cool because this is what helped me to learn my symbols so that I can read pattern symbols. This is another one that's really, really popular. It's called The Complete Photo Guide to Crochet, and let's see here. This is, as you can see, it gives you a stitch symbol pattern, words, and a picture of what the stitch would look like. Okay. Or you can just wing it, and come up with a pattern of your own of stitches that you know how to make if you don't know how to read patterns or whatever, but you may know, I know a double crochet, I'm going to skip one, make an X or whatever it is that you want to do. So decide on the stitch pattern, and then you can go from there. So why is it important that you know your stitch pattern before you get started? Because you're going to need your stitch pattern in order to get the right measurement for your garment, okay? You need to measure your waistline where you want your garment to begin. And I'm speaking of a skirt, so where you want the skirt to begin. You also need to measure your hip, okay? So how does the stitch pattern relate to your waist and hip measurement? It relates from the standpoint that if your one repeat of that stitch pattern is 5 inches, then you need to know how many repeats you're going to need to fit your size, okay? So for instance, if I measured my hips and my hips was 30 inches, okay, and I used a stitch pattern that was a repeat of it was 5 inches, okay, then I know that I'm going to need six repeats to equal 30 inches of that pattern or whatever stitches I'm using. Now, if you're just using straight single crochet, double crochet, that doesn't matter. You're just going to chain the number of stitches you need to equal the inches for your hip. For a basic crochet skirt, the most important measurement is your hip measurement, if that is the larger part of your body, okay? If your waist is larger than your hip, then go with your waist measurement. Always start it off with whichever is larger, okay? Your waist or your hip. Now, me being that my hips are larger, I always start off with making my initial chain to fit my hip measurement, and then I can decrease or add elastic to the waist to fit my waist, okay? So that's how that works. Or you can do a drawstring in the waist or whatever. Now, your stitch pattern does make a difference in how the skirt is going to fit, how the skirt is going to lay, as well as the type of yarn that you use. Here goes my voice again. Your yarn choice is a huge factor in creating a garment for yourself. Why do I say that? Because I find that bulkier weight yarns do not work well for garment pieces for plus size crochet. Okay? This is my own personal preference. There's no science behind this. I just prefer the way that lighter weight yarns fall and lay on my body as opposed to a bulkier weight yarn. Now, when I'm making clothing items for myself, If it's not like supposed to be an outerwear piece like a shrug, or a jacket type piece like that, like if I'm making a sweater that I'm going to wear as a normal top, I need a lighter weight yarn. If I'm working a skirt, it's lighter weight yarn or even thread. But if I'm making, say, like everybody was making these granny shrugs, and I did one of those, that I used a worsted weight yarn to make because it's an outside piece to go over other clothing, and it wasn't too much for that particular purpose. So you got to consider the purpose for the garment that you're making and how you want that garment to fall. So yarn choice is huge, okay? The next thing is your crochet hook, your sizing that you want to use, because you want your hook to be comparable to the yarn that you use. The other thing is that you need to know your own personal tension and create a gauge for the garment that you're making. Okay, how tightly you crochet. So let me back up a little bit. When I was creating this skirt, being that it's a chevron pattern, I knew that I initially chained enough to fit my hip size. But because I knew that I wanted this to be a fitted skirt and not a super loose skirt, okay? I wanted this to be a fitted skirt. So I knew that when I chained for the number of stitches to fit my hip, that because it was a chevron pattern, it was going to cinch up somewhat. So I was going to lose a good inch or so from the overall length of the beginning chain because of the stitch pattern that I chose. So you need to keep that in mind when you're deciding on what stitch pattern I'm going to use. Is this going to be a flat pattern where it's not going to take away once I start creating the stitches, or is it? And you need to allow for that in your initial measurement, okay? So if you know that you're choosing a pattern where it's going to cinch up and you don't want your skirt to be fitted, you want it to be loose, then you might want to chain a little bit extra so that you don't have that issue, okay? And I'm going to show you 2 examples today of skirts that I've created and how they came out, okay? So the first one is this. This top is done in a sport weight yarn. It's an acrylic yarn. It's a number 3 sport weight yarn. So it's a lightweight yarn that I can wear all year round. The same thing with this skirt. It is done with the same brand of yarn that this is. It's a light sport weight yarn. But the white part is light sport weight yarn, but it's a different brand. It's Bernat baby yarn. Okay, so I do use a lot of baby yarn in my pieces because I find that baby yarn is softer and lighter than some of the other yarns that are readily or easily available out on the market. Okay, now if you're ordering specialty yarns and stuff like that, that's a total different thing, you know, but I do those too. But however, I'm only going to talk on yarns that you can get easily, okay? So this particular yarn is a Red Heart Sport yarn. Now, I have to say, this is their Comfort Sport yarn. This is a Canadian brand of Red Heart yarn. So this yarn you do not find on the shelves in the U.S. You literally have to go onto the website and order it, and it comes from Canada. I have never seen it for sale in the U.S. except for on the website. Okay, so this is one that you can get. You just have to order it. It comes from Canada. It's not a U.S. Red Heart brand of yarn. And I wish that it was, because the Red Heart Sport that we get here in the U.S., which is a lightweight yarn, is nothing compared to this. It's a lot softer, and I like it a whole lot more than the one that we get here in the U.S. And it comes in huge skeins that have like 1,100 yards of yarn in it, so you wouldn't need to buy. It's like $10 a skein for 1,100 yards of yarn, so it's worth it in my opinion to order it. But you do whatever fits your budget and whatever works for you. Okay. When my first shipment of this, I actually got it from Hirschner's. They had a special on it, and I ordered up like 20 skeins because it was on sale when I ordered it last year. But anyways, back to creating this skirt. You need your waist measurement. You need your hip measurement. You need to decide on the stitch pattern that you want to use. You also need to do a gauge swatch with that stitch pattern so that you can map out how many repeats of that pattern you're going to need to fit your size. Okay. You're also going to do a gauge swatch because you want to know that once you create the stitches, are they going to lay flat? Is it going to gather up on you? Do you need to allow extra stitching because you want the skirt to be loose, or you need to take away a few because you want it to be tighter or more fitted on you? You have to decide that initially before you begin your project. Okay. So if you're doing a stitch pattern like this chevron stitch, because you have to gather it up in certain places, then if I made a chain that was 10 inches long, I may lose 2 inches because of the way the stitch pattern is going, because I'm having to do some decreases and gather it up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that is what you're going to have to take in consideration when you are creating a garment for yourself. Okay? Is my stitch pattern going to change the inches of my initial chaining? Okay. Now, if you're just doing straight double crochet or straight trebles or something like that, you're fine because you're not going to lose any stitches, any inches, excuse me, not stitches, but inches when you create that stitch pattern. Okay. So you measure for your hips if that's the largest part of your body. If your waist is the larger part of your body, you measure for your waist. Okay. But for me, my hips is the larger part. So let me show you. So what I would do is you would take your tape measure and you're going to measure around the hip area for your particular body. The next measurement that you're going to take is your waist measurement, okay, of where you want your garment to fit. Now, once you have those two measurements and you know your stitch pattern, then you're on the home stretch. You can start creating your garment. You also need to decide what type of closure you're going to use, or band, should I say, that you're going to use for your skirt. In this skirt, I used an elastic band that was a 1/2 inch elastic, although it looks like it's wider because of the way that I did the stitching here at the top for that. Okay, so decide on how wide waistband you're going to use, if you're going to use elastic, if you're going to do like a drawstring, if it's button, whatever your closure method is, you're going to have to know that. Okay, now I would recommend for a beginner that you either do elastic or do a drawstring. For beginners, elastic or drawstring is going to be easier. If you're a brand new beginner, don't even fool with the elastic. Just do a drawstring because it's easy to put a drawstring and tie the skirt around the waist to keep it from falling, as opposed to learning how to work with elastic if you're not familiar with that. Okay. There's a couple of different ways that you can construct this skirt for yourself. You can construct the skirt in the basic, top down method, where I start at the waist and work my way down. You can also work sideways and it'll be a piece that will fit. And I'll show you a skirt that I did sideways as well in just a moment. You can also work the skirt, and I've seen patterns where they worked it from bottom up, okay, just depending on what it is that you want it to do. This is a skirt that I made that is worked sideways, okay? So as you can see, it's 2 colors. It's a lightweight yarn again, but what I did was, and it's all double crochet, the band is single crochet in the round, okay? But I didn't do the band was made the last part that I did. The skirt starts, actually the body of the skirt starts here, and it's single crochet, then I have double crochets, and then I wanted to flare out at the end, so then I did some treble crochets in the ruffle portion. See that? The ruffle portion, and then added the detailing on the bottom of the skirt. And I actually got this design. This is not my original design. This came from a crochet book that I purchased that explained how to create the skirt for yourself. And it's one of these, this is one of those pieces that is so easily adjusted for whomever is going to wear it. That book is called Crochet That Fits. Okay, I love this book because it's like a how-to guide as opposed to just patterns. Okay, so what it does is it teaches you how to crochet without using increases and decreases. You're only using your stitch style to increase the width of the garment, which is cool. So this is the top to go with that skirt. Okay, and again, it's constructed in the same concept. Okay, from one straight piece, and then you join the pieces together. It's single crocheted at the top, then you have your double crochets down for the bottom portion of it. And as you can see, I didn't add any sleeves to this, and I could have very easily added sleeves to this one, but I didn't because I wanted it to be for a sleeveless top for summer wear. Okay, that's pretty much it as far as your basics for creating a skirt. Is deciding on your stitch pattern, taking your measurements, and working from there. Okay, stitch pattern measurements, and your hip and your waist measurements. Okay, if your hip is larger, make your initial chain to fit your hip. If your if your waist is larger, then you make your initial chain to fit your waist. And then you start constructing your skirt based on the stitch pattern that you chose. Then you would add in your waistband, whether it be elastic or a drawstring. And both of these skirts I did elastic in the waist. Now this one I did a 1/2 inch elastic. This one is like a 1/4 inch elastic that's in, and you can kind of see it on the inside of the skirt. But as you can see on the outside, you can't see anything in the way that I crocheted was to disguise this, work this in, because the skirt in and of itself was for a drawstring, the way it was made, and I did not want a drawstring. I wanted to enclose it with elastic, but I didn't want to lose the height of my band. Okay, so I love that band, so I just went to a smaller with elastic and encased it like that, and so you can't see it at all when you would put the skirt on, but if you turn it around you can see it, but it looks just like being that the elastic is white, it looks like a design of the skirt. Isn't that cool? As opposed to it being the elastic right there and being exposed, it becomes a feature of the skirt. But this is the part that will be against, this is the wrong side. So this is the wrong side. This is the right side. Okay, so that will be against your skin. And you could, with this skirt, I chose that this was my right side, but I could very well wear it, because it could be, it's reversible, where more of the white is showing, and that would be my right side. It's a reversible skirt, but I happen to like the purple standing out more than the white in this pattern. So that's about it. I also wanted to share with you, you guys remember the cape that I did in my last video. This is a hat that I made yesterday to go along with that cape, and the pattern for this hat comes from, it's actually a YouTube tutorial from JadoreLeCrochet, and she uploaded a tutorial on how to create this awesome hat. Look at that cool design. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. Let me do that to go with my cape. And so I literally whipped this up in a couple of hours yesterday following the video. The video was very, very good and very detailed. She says that it's a intermediate, advanced beginner skill level, and I would agree with her on that. If you are wanting to try something different, wanting to get into doing some ribbing to create design, then I would recommend, and I will put a link for her video down in the description box so you can go and try this super cute hat. Now, I will say that it is the pattern is written to be slouchy. However, I have not softened this yet either, so that's one thing. The other thing is that I used impeccable yarn, which is a thick, bulky, worsted weight yarn, and I did go up a hook size than what was recommended, but I also crochet rather tightly, so mine is a little bit more stiff than slouchy, which is fine for me. But this is what I'm telling you. Yarn choice makes a difference when you're creating these pieces and how they come out and your tension. Okay, I tend to crochet tight, so my tension, even though I did go up a hook size, it still came out rather condensed. Okay, so if I make this one again, I will go up probably 2 hook sizes just so it have more of a slouchy effect for me. So just know that. But I wanted to share that with you all because I think that is just the coolest. Okay. All right. So I hope this was helpful. And I hope I answered all the questions that I was asked. If you have any additional questions, just put them down in the comments below and I will get back with you all soon. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day and God bless. Bye.